there was a letter released from Mahmoud Khalil. This is while he was in the detainment facility, the ICE detention center in Louisiana. First, he was in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and then they moved him to Louisiana. Why would he do that? Why would they do that? Because they know that in New Jersey and around New York State, that majority of people are going to support him. Majority of those people, if he was held in trial, are going to support this guy. But if you go to a more red state like Louisiana, that are more, Bible thumpers and go with the conspiracy of Zionism, that we have to usher a complete annihilation of these people so that when Jesus returns and everyone goes up in the rapture, that somehow the good, honest people for mass slaughter go up to heaven and the rest of us burn in a blaze of hell. One of the many reasons why I stopped going to Sunday school. One of the many, 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 many reasons, but that's another off-topic conversation we could have another day. So Sarah Lazara says, read this full letter by Mahmoud Khalil. I have always believed that it is my duty not only to liberate myself from the oppressor, but also to liberate my oppressors from their hatred and fear. So this is what he wrote. This dictated over the phone by ICE detention. So what I'm assuming is that he called somebody and somebody wrote what he said over the phone. That's what I'm assuming. What they mean by that. So it goes on saying, my name is Mahmoud Khalil. I am a political prisoner. I am writing to you from a detention facility in Louisiana where I wake in cold mornings and spend long days bearing witness to the quiet injustices underway against a great many people precluded from the protections of the law. Who was the right to have rights? It is certainly not humans crowded into the cells here. It isn't the Senegalese man I met who was been deprived of his liberty for a year, his legal situation in limbo, and his family an ocean away. It isn't the 21-year-old detainee I met who stepped foot in a country at the age of 9 only to be deported without so much as a hearing. Justice escapes the contours of this nation's immigration facilities. On March 8th, I was taken by DHS agents who refused to provide a warrant and accosted my wife and me as we returned from dinner. By now, the footage of that night has been made public. Before I knew what was happening, agents handcuffed and forced me into an unmarked car. At the moment, my only concern was for Nora's safety. That's his wife. I had no idea if she would be taken too, since the agents have threatened to arrest her for not leaving my side. By the way, she's 8 months pregnant. So they are arresting someone that they don't have a criminal warrant. They have no criminal conviction of this guy. They can't accuse him of anything other than the fact that he participated in a protest that the American state doesn't like because they serve Israel. That's all they have. That's all they have on this guy. DHS would not tell me anything for hours. I did not know the cause of my arrest or if I was facing immediate deportation. At 26 Federal Plaza, I slept on the cold floor. In the early morning hours, agents transported me to another facility in Elizabeth, New Jersey. There I slept on the ground and was refused a blanket despite my request. My arrest was a direct consequence of exercising my right to free speech as I advocated for a free Palestine and an end to the genocide, which resumed in full force Monday night. With January's ceasefire now broken, parents in Gaza are once again cradling two small shroods, and families are forced to weigh starvation and displacement against bombs. It is our moral imperative to persist in the struggle for their complete freedom. I was born in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria to a family who has been displaced from their land since the 1948 Nakba. I spent my youth in proximity to yet distant from my homeland, but being Palestinian is an experience that transcends borders. I see in my circumstances similarities to Israel's use of administration detention, imprisonment without trial or charge to strip Palestinians of their rights. That's what's happening right now with Palestinians that are kept in captivity in Israeli prisons. And that's why Hamas is slowly backing away from the hostage exchange, because they know that Israel is not going to release the Palestinians, which is part of the ceasefire agreement. I think that our friend Omar Khatbi, excuse me, who was incarcerated without charge or trial by Israel as he returned home from travel. I think of Gaza hospital director and pediatrician Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, who was taken captive by the Israeli military on December 27th and remains in an Israeli torture camp today. For Palestinians, imprisonment without due process is commonplace. And they capture mostly children, by the way. Children. Children who are trying to defend their survival by mostly throwing rocks. That's the only thing they could possibly charge them with, is a child was throwing a rock at an Israeli tank as it was blowing up their school, as it was blowing up roadways, as it was killing people in hospitals, as it was completely annihilating neighborhoods. I have always believed that my duty is not only to liberate myself from the oppressor, but also to liberate my oppressors from their hatred and fear. My unjust detention is indicative of the anti-Palestinian racism that both the Biden and Trump administrations have demonstrated over the past 16 months, as the United States has continued to supply Israel with weapons to kill Palestinians and prevent international intervention. For decades, anti-Palestinian racism has driven efforts to expand U.S. laws and practices that are used to violently repress Palestinians, Arab Americans, and other communities. That is precisely why I'm being targeted. While I await legal decisions that hold the futures of my wife and child in the balance, those who enable my targeting remain comfortably at Columbia University. Presidents Shafik, Armstrong, and Dean Yari Milo laid the groundwork for the U.S. government to target me by arbitrarily disciplining pro-Palestinian students and allowing viral doxing campaigns based on racism and disinformation to go unchecked. And Columbia University was doing this purposely to try to get more funding out of the Trump administration. They did during the Biden administration because Columbia University sends a huge amount of money and support to AIPAC. So they had police raids going into Columbia University to crack the heads of peaceful protesters. They stormed into Hamilton Hall. They stormed into a lot of these different areas within the campus. But the real reason that they're targeting someone like Mahmoud Khalil, who did nothing wrong, they can't criminally convict him of anything because there's no crime record. He didn't engage in violence. Nothing of that ever occurred. The only reason is because Columbia University thought, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get money from the Trump administration. And guess what? They didn't. So the Ivy League school that people pay extortionate amount of money for, that they think that it's going to be some sort of diverse, open, wonderful, magic land that they keep falsified promising to coming students to think that they're very diverse. Oh, it's a diverse area. We got safe space for everybody. Knowing this is happening, knowing that your tuition as a student is paying towards cracking down on demonstrators and threatening to deport them because of exercising their free speech, I don't understand why people support Columbia University. I don't understand why people would even dare to be behind an Ivy League school at this point. After all the shit they go through, after all the gaslighting they do, after just the failure of the educational system, people go to these Ivy League schools and they come even worse than people that don't go to these schools. The only people I could ever see attending Columbia University or any of these institutions is either you're going to become a successful doctor for the world, or you're just going to become an asshole for the state. That's the only thing I could see. If you're just a regular person that thinks, oh, I'm going to go there for a law degree, or I'm going to go there for, filmmaking or anything like that, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. I'm surprised they haven't been boycotted at this point. I'm literally surprised that students haven't called the administration offices, and try to get back their tuition. That's what your money's going towards. What's the point? Obviously, you're not a diverse state. Obviously, you don't care about free thought. Obviously, you work for the state. You're a state-appointed school. You work for the oppressors. You work for the people that you're teaching students to criticize and be against. The same colleges that complain about wokeism, the same colleges that complain about, oh, these people that go in there, they go to college and they learn liberal tactics like protesting. Now they're cracking down on protests because it involves Israel being one of their big donors. So, there you go. Mahmoud Khalil, kept in captivity, being not told anything because they can't arrest him for anything. There's no criminal convictions against this guy. And yet they still have him in captivity because of him exercising his free speech. That's it. And if they could do that to someone like him, regardless of how you feel about what he says, and we've shown you the clips before. Mahmoud Khalil, the most we could say is that he didn't even mention Hamas. He didn't mention Hamas. He didn't even mention Israel. He was criticizing the school. He was saying how Columbia University should not be complicit with Israel in their support of genocide. It was a criticism at the school. It was a criticism at the school. And they kept him in captivity. They got ICE agents to crack down this guy. Some mole in the inside of the university called this guy out and are now doxing other people, other students, to crack them down and be deported. Even if they're American citizens. Even if they're legal citizens that can be here. This guy's a legal resident. And if they can do it to him, they can do it to anybody. That's what Donald Trump is pledging. Donald Trump is pledging. You think that all this ICE roundup is only for the criminals? That's what I thought at first. But then we knew that was gaslighting you, because now ICE officials are abusing their power to go after tourists, to go after people that are trying to renew their visas. They've been not convicted of any crime. They're not criminals whatsoever, but they're being threatened to be deported. Why? Because they let ICE, a powerful organization, a corrupted organization, to do whatever they want. They're not being held accountable. They just said, hey, go round up many people as possible, and the Trump administration laid back and just let it happen. And now you got this. Because ICE is working on behalf of Israel. And ICE is working on behalf of their own corruption and not holding themselves accountable and responsible for only going after the criminals. I thought that was going to happen. That's why I kind of supported that. Because why wouldn't we not go after criminals? Why would we not go after gang members and thugs? But it turns out, while this guy is kept in captivity, they're protecting gang members. A judge is protecting Venezuelan gang members from leaving the country. Gang members. So it goes to show you that they want crime, they want corruption, they want the drug smugglers, they want the worst for this country. But anyone that exercises their free speech that's protected by the Constitution, you are more of a threat to the nation than a drug gang. Someone who is strong and has convictions is more of a threat to America than a criminal organized gang. Just think of that. Think of that. This guy is very powerful for what he did, and he's being detained for doing nothing wrong. Meanwhile, corrupt judges are protecting criminals who should be deported, who ICE determined that they were supposed to deport. They're protecting them from leaving the country because they want the gangs to stay. They want the violence to stay. They want the chaos to continue while they arrest someone like this.